What happened to the cast of Seinfeld after the laughter stopped? You might think they all lived happily ever after in sitcom royalty. But the truth? It's full of unexpected twists, surprising reinventions, quiet disappearances, and even public meltdowns. This isn't just a look back. It's a reality check on what fame gave them and what it took away. But before we dive into New York's quirkiest sitcom crew, hit that like button and subscribe. Every click helps us keep the coffee flowing faster than a Kramer entrance. Let's do this. Jerry Seinfeld, still the king of nothing. He played himself, literally. Jerry Seinfeld wasn't just the star, he was the show. Back in 1989, Jerry was a rising comic with a razor-sharp wit and an obsession with life's weird little details. He was 35 when the series began, and his deadpan delivery made observational humor cool again. After Seinfeld, he didn't try to outdo the show. Instead, he returned to his roots, stand-up comedy. And then came Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee, a low-key series that somehow became a hit. Now 70, Jerry lives a life most comedians dream of: private, respected, and still headlining. Few people realize Jerry turned down several massive Hollywood offers after Seinfeld. Why? Because he didn't want to dilute what they had created. That kind of discipline is rare in show business. He chose legacy over more fame. He's also been a guest star on several shows and documentaries that examine comedy as an art form, showing just how influential he's been behind the scenes. Michael Richards, The Price of a Meltdown. Michael Richards was Cosmo Kramer. Nobody else could have pulled off that chaotic entrance, that wild hair, or those gravity-defying pratfalls. He won 3 Emmys and became one of the most recognizable faces on TV. But after Seinfeld, something changed. In 2006, during a stand-up set, Richards had a now infamous public outburst that shocked everyone. The backlash was swift and brutal, and Richards faded from the spotlight. What made it harder was that fans had loved Kramer so unconditionally. The incident created a disconnect. Richards apologized, but some scars in the public eye never fully heal. Now 75, he's stayed mostly quiet. He reemerged briefly to appear on Curb Your Enthusiasm in a Seinfeld reunion arc. For some, it was a nostalgic treat. For others, it reminded them of how far he'd fallen. And yet, there are fans who still call for a full redemption, hoping one day he'll find his way back to comedy, even if it's just one final time. Julia Louis-Dreyfus, the real MVP. At just 28, Julia Louis-Dreyfus turned Elaine Beanies into one of the most iconic women in television. Witty, unpredictable, and always ahead of her time, Elaine was no sidekick. She was a star, and after Seinfeld, Julia became unstoppable. From The New Adventures of Old Christine to Veep, she racked up Emmys like nobody's business. She even battled cancer publicly and came back stronger. At 63, she's not just surviving in Hollywood, she's thriving. She's also shattered the so-called Seinfeld curse, proving that a post-sitcom career can soar. Today, she's considered one of the greatest comedic actresses of all time. In fact, many young comedians today cite her as their primary inspiration, not just for her timing, but for her resilience and reinvention. Jason Alexander. Forever. George, but so much more. George Costanza was neurotic, loud, insecure, and somehow lovable. Jason Alexander made that magic happen. He was only 30 when the show began, and his performance was so spot on, many assumed he was George. But Alexander is a seasoned theater actor and voice artist, and after Seinfeld, he stayed busy. Broadway, guest roles, animated shows, you name it. He even directed and made appearances on numerous shows from The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel to Young Sheldon. He never reached Jerry's level of stardom, but maybe that was never the goal. At 65, he's still in the game, still funny, still working, and in interviews, he's one of the most thoughtful voices reflecting on the Seinfeld legacy. He also dedicates time to humanitarian causes, often participating in campaigns for mental health awareness, the fan favorites, and the forgotten. Wayne Knight made postal workers cool, sort of. As Newman, he was Jerry's annoying nemesis and Kramer's loyal sidekick. Wayne was 36 when he joined the cast, and his booming "Hello, Jerry" became legendary. After Seinfeld, he starred in Jurassic Park, Space Jam, and did voice acting galore. At 69, he's still going strong. What you may not know is that Wayne Knight nearly quit acting before Seinfeld. He was struggling to find meaningful roles, and Newman reignited his passion for the craft. That one character changed everything for him. Then there's Heidi Swedberg, who played Susan, George's doomed fiancée. Her calm energy was the perfect foil for George's chaos, but off-screen, it's rumored she didn't mesh with the cast. Jason Alexander even admitted they had trouble syncing comedic rhythms. After Susan's infamous exit, Heidi stepped away from acting and focused on music. Now 58, she tours with her ukulele band, bringing joy in a very different way. Estelle, Harris and Jerry Stiller, George's hilariously loud parents, became sitcom legends in their later years. Estelle's shrill voice and Jerry's explosive rants gave Seinfeld its emotional punch. Both have since passed, but their legacy is cemented in TV history, the ones we lost but never forgot. Ruth Cohen, the quiet cashier at Monk's Cafe, appeared in more episodes than any other non-main character. She passed in 2008, but for many fans, she was the heart of the diner. Liz Sheridan, who played Jerry's mom, and Barney Martin, Jerry's frugal dad, brought real warmth to the show. They made you believe that Jerry actually had parents worrying about him every step of the way. Len Lesser, Uncle Leo, wasn't just a catchphrase. Hello might be what we remember, but his entire presence made Seinfeld richer. He passed in 2011, but Uncle Leo lives on in memes, reruns, and fan nostalgia. Richard Hurd, Mr. Wilhelm, Ian Abercrombie, Mr. Pitt, and others added layers to George and Elaine's work lives. Their comedic timing helped turn small scenes into legendary ones. Many of these actors had long careers before Seinfeld, but the show gave them a second legacy. The surprise stars you might have forgotten. Wait, was that Bryan Cranston? Yep. Before Breaking Bad, Cranston played Jerry's sketchy dentist, Dr. Tim Whatley. He converted to Judaism for the jokes and delivered one of the show's most subtly dark performances. Steve Heitner gave us Kenny Benya, the comic who thought soup was a full meal. His line, "That's gold, Jerry," became a cultural moment.
Why do they call it Ovaltine? The mug is round, the jar is round. They should call it Roundtine. That's gold, Jerry. Gold!
Danny Woodburn, playing Mickey, Kramer's passionate actor friend, broke barriers for actors with disabilities. His fiery energy gave Kramer a run for his money. Today, he's a vocal advocate for representation in Hollywood. And let's not forget Bob Balaban as the NBC exec who bought Jerry and George's show about nothing. He brought corporate absurdity to the sitcom world with subtle genius. What made Seinfeld so special? Seinfeld wasn't just funny, it was different. No sappy music, no lessons, no hugs, just absurdity, awkwardness, and honesty. It gave us characters that felt like people we knew, flawed, ridiculous, hilarious. It also made the mundane magical. Waiting at a restaurant, losing your car in a parking garage, double dipping a chip. All of it became comedy gold, and it gave the cast something else, a legacy. Some used it to launch empires, others retreated from fame. A few were never the same. But if there's one thing we know, it's this: Seinfeld still matters. Because decades later, we're still quoting it, still laughing, and still finding something new every time we rewatch. More than a show, it was a mirror, reflecting how strange and hilarious the little things in life can be. And maybe that's why it holds up, because we're all still looking for meaning in a world full of nothings. Thanks for taking this walk through sitcom history with us. If this trip down memory lane made you smile, hit that like button, share it with your favorite 90s kid, and subscribe for more stories that go deeper than reruns ever could. And tell us in the comments, who was your favorite Seinfeld character and why? We'll see you in the next one.